Hello everyone, Pat Dana MMA back with another DWCS breakdown. Week 8 of the DWCS season. It's pretty crazy that we're already this deep into the season. I'm honestly pretty upset that the season is almost over. Before I get into everything, everyone just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Some of the likes and comments have been down in recent weeks. The views are doing all right, but I just kind of want to pump things back up after I did take that break because it has hurt my YouTube views and just me and the algorithm overall. So any likes and comments are very, very appreciated. We're going to go straight into the action this week, though. We have in our first fight, Rashid Vagabov versus Paulo da Silva. Going to get started with Rashid Vagabov here. Vagabov is an Magomedov Fight School guy. He trained over there with them for a bit. I don't know if that's his main gym necessarily. I know Tapology doesn't have him listed anywhere specifically, but he is 13-2, 27 years old, from Russia. He has 8 finishes and 13 wins, and a disqualification win as well. And then if we look at his record, he's fought some pretty decent competition. Denis Araujo was good level of competition there. Jin wasn't bad. Alexei Kim, not a bad level of competition overall. His loss to Malakayev, I can look past because he kind of just got caught in a choke while getting up, and it just kind of happened. And Malakayev's a very, very good fighter. But for Vagabov himself, he just likes to stay on the outside, looking to set up his takedowns. He will pressure forward when he's looking to grapple, and he uses some pretty quick hands and kicks to set up his takedowns, where he'll kind of just rush in with straight punches and then go look for the takedown. He does have some pretty hard body knees in the clinch, but he has some pretty bad striking defense overall. He's getting tagged by straight punches a lot early in these fights. I'm pretty sure it was Araujo and maybe Shamadov or one of them, but they had tagged him with a couple straight punches there before he had eventually gotten the fight down and gotten them out of there. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But he is super quick and times his takedowns very well, especially against the cage. He has some really nice double legs. He'll just snatch up the legs, and he's pretty active when he gets on top. There's a lot of short elbows. I think his top control is very good. He rarely lets opponents up for a long period of time, if at all, and he's mostly a control over volume kind of guy. He has some really slick back takes and rear naked chokes too, and some really solid arm triangles. A really nice jumping guillotine too. And he's really quick to look for the finish overall. He'll choke people out. I mean, I think he choked 2 of his last 4 opponents unconscious. I know this fight he definitely did, and then one of these 2 he choked unconscious as well. Vagabov is also tricky on his back when he does end up on there. He'll throw up submissions and definitely make his opponent work for it. He did have a weird decision loss against Sariev. He controlled this entire fight on the cage, but did not get the takedown and really didn't do any damage, but neither did his opponent. And Sariev ended up getting the unanimous decision here, which was kind of crazy because if anything, I thought Vagabov might have won all 3 rounds, but weird fight, weird decision. And like I said, in the Malakayev loss, I mean, he didn't look bad. He kind of just got caught after getting up from a takedown. And like I said, Malakayev's very good. I'm pretty sure he's fighting for the championship over in 1. So with that said, we are going to be moving on to his opponent coming up, Paulo da Silva. Paulo da Silva is 11-1. He is only 23 years old, and he is 5'7". Da Silva has 9 wins by submission and 11 wins, so he's definitely looking for the submissions a lot more and often in his fights than anything else. And he's had a lot of canceled fights, as you can see there on Tapology. But he only had 2 fights of tape for me to watch. I was able to watch his fight against Hugo Paiva, his last fight, and I was able to watch the Luis Eduardo fight as well. He's a Charles Oliveira student. He obviously has those 9 submissions, but he's won his last 2 fights by decision. And I don't even want to say it's a step up in competition. He's just had an awful level of competition in the past. The Iago Ribeiro loss is fine. Ribeiro's good, and that's a tough debut. But just look at this competition. So many 0-0 guys, a 2-17 and 0-2. Like 4-4 was the best opponent record-wise he had in his first 10-11 fights, and then he fought Paiva here. Weird decision. Even the commentators did think that Paulo da Silva lost to Hugo Paiva. So I mean, I didn't necessarily think it was a terrible decision, but I did think that it should have went Paiva's way. The commentators were like mind blown by it. But even then, I mean, I just didn't think it was an impressive performance on either guy's end. Silva will switch stances and has good footwork. He'll circle well. He has a decent 1-2 and a decent left hook, and he's getting much better with blitzing combinations in the pocket, but he really just doesn't do much on the feet overall. He prefers to grapple, and he likes to sit in side control and just not transition too often. I'm just not too impressed with his grappling offense. He has minimal ground and pound, ass submissions. He got judo thrown by Paiva in round 1. Dropped early in round 2, but then returned that knockdown. He can throw up triangles off his back and arm triangles on top, and those are probably his best submissions. But I actually watched him try one from top full guard for a while at one point in one fight, and it's like, why are you trying an arm triangle from top full guard? Like, what am I looking at? And just like I said, awful level of competition apart from his last fight and his first fight. And the first fight was a loss, and the last fight very well could have been too. All I'll say about Paulo da Silva, 23 years old. He's young. He's improving. He's working with guys like Charles Oliveira. Based on the 2 fights of tape I saw, I really couldn't give much to be happy about here. But with that said, I have to go with Rashid Vagabov. He just has the experience, has the better level of competition significantly, and he's finishing these guys in a way that I think he could probably finish Paulo da Silva. Da Silva was taken down by Paiva in that fight. If Vagabov gets him down, I think he's going to get him in some very nasty spots and probably get him out of there pretty quick with the submission. You see he's won his last 4 by submission. So I'm definitely going to lean that Vagabov gets the submission here, and I'm going to say it happens earlier in the fight too. I could see it maybe extending a little bit, but I really don't know if Paulo da Silva has great cardio either. In that fight against Paiva, it was too low volume and just weird to really be able to tell if his cardio is going to hold up in a wrestling heavy fight like I expect this to be. And if Paulo da Silva wants to wrestle with Vagabov, I just don't think it's going to go well for him. I think his advantages here are actually on the feet, believe it or not. So with that said, I'm going to take Rashid Vagabov by submission in round 1, probably takes the back and gets the rear naked choke or something along those lines. Moving on to our next fight of the card, we have the Pink Panther, Curtis Campbell, taking on Demba Seck. I have to start with the Pink Panther here. He does fight in pink attire. Yes, it is very fun to watch. I really honestly want to see him in the UFC just because of that. I want to see him wear some pink shorts in the UFC. I think it'd be kind of hilarious and kind of sick. The shorts actually look pretty good on him, I can't lie. So shout out Curtis Campbell for rocking those pink shorts. But with that said, Curtis Campbell's actually a really good fighter. I was very impressed with what I saw on tape. He has clean footwork, crisp combinations, good head movement, some really quick kicks. He's devastating leg kicks, can take an opponent out early and uses them often. But other than that, he doesn't do too much on the feet. His punches aren't crazy, you know, he doesn't do too much with his boxing. His kicking game is very, very sharp though. Campbell definitely does have an issue where he kicks in the pocket too often, and it has gotten him caught on a few occasions, but never rocked, never dropped, just kind of caught a little bit. And I do think he keeps his chin a little bit high, but he does have some really good grappling. His grappling is where he shines. His kicks on the feet are great, but his grappling is really where Curtis Campbell shines. His great body lock takedowns and trips in the clinch, catches kicks into takedowns very well, slick transitions and submission defense, has some very dominant control, but he can be a bit slippy at times where he'll like slip off for a second or two, but he'll still keep position off lost submissions or lost position. So that's something I like about him, is that he'll be able to maintain position or scramble back and get position again. Like he's very good with that. He's very active with his ground and pound too, fairly powerful and constantly threatening the finish with it. He does throw a lot of elbows and has some really good takedown defense himself. I thought his win against Mateusz Lima was very, very impressive because he grappled super well, worked out of submissions well, fought through a really bad cut on the back of his head. I thought that Campbell looked very good against Lima in that fight, and I didn't actually get to see the Valerio fight on tape, but I did watch it live when it happened. If I remember correctly, Curtis Campbell mostly just out-grappled him in round 1 and then just ran through him in round 2. So with that said, I like Curtis Campbell a lot. Moving on to his opponent, Demba Seck. Demba Seck is representing Senegal here, and he is the Black Tiger. Seck is 31 years old, so he is a bit older, and he has 8 finish wins in 10 wins. I mean, he only had 4 fights of tape. He's a teammate of Josias Musasa, 6 fight in the last 12 months. He's just consistently fighting. It's actually pretty crazy. He uses a lot of rangy punches though, uses a lot of jabs. He has a pretty big straight right hand, but that's really all he has on the feet. He'll kind of just storm forward throwing punches. He doesn't mind getting into a brawl. He comes out a bit reckless looking for the big finish, has some good leg kicks and body kicks and a nice spinning wheel kick, but I think he gets countered very easily and shoots from very far away. He does have solid takedowns once he has you wrapped up and will look to get to the back for a quick rear naked choke, but he lacks any control once getting it down. He'll allow people right back up all the time. This Fred Kudzele fight, 2-2 fighter, he won by split decision in this fight. He could not keep him down at all. Could not grapple against him. It was just a very bad look. And basically all of his fights that aren't finishes within the first 3 minutes are close margins losses. The Basala fight definitely wasn't a great look. The Bembe loss, I don't even know if I got to see this fight, but either way, just a lot of close margins fights past 3 minutes. And also really, he doesn't have the best cut level of competition, so it's like when he's not running through these guys, even against this mid-level of competition, he's fighting on close margins every time he's past 3 minutes. He did avenge one of his losses in his last fight, the Bembe loss. He avenged that in his last fight with a 23-second KO with a flying knee, so that's very impressive from him. And in this Basala fight specifically, actually, he was flattened out and out-grappled, got reversed easily after the first couple minutes, got cracked in round 2. He actually only landed 1 punch to the head in 15 minutes in this fight. So I think that kind of shows the proper Seck experience, if you want my complete honesty. I'm not too high on Seck. I think this is a guy that they brought on to try to get Curtis Campbell a pretty big win, and I think he probably does get it here by finish. I know he only has 1 submission win, but it was a very impressive one in his last fight. I could see the TKO, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Curtis Campbell got the submission win over Seck here. I think Seck will be pretty tough. I think he's going to make it hard to TKO him. Maybe not, honestly. I don't know. But after 3 minutes, I just think that Curtis Campbell has this fight in the bag. And even before that point, I think that honestly, Curtis Campbell probably still has the better tools overall. So definitely give me Curtis Campbell here to win by first round submission. But could be a knockout, like I said, just Curtis Campbell in round 1. For our next fight, Chris Alvidrez versus Eliezer Kubanza, or Eliezer Kubanza. This is a great fight. This is the best fight on the card, in my opinion, probably the closest fight on the card, and really should be the fight of the night when I look at it and I just break it down overall. So going to be starting off with Kubanza first here. Kubanza is 7-0. He is in his 20s. I don't know why they don't have his age on Tapology, but I'm pretty sure he's in his later 20s. And he has just been a pretty highly touted prospect for a while now. He's 6 wins by knockout, only 1 decision win that did come in his last fight. We will get to that in a bit, but he was pretty highly touted as an amateur as well. Kubanza is a southpaw. He'll fight in both stances. He has a quick and snappy jab and a very hard straight left. He sets up his uppercuts well and has some very tight combinations. Big hooks, winging, powerful, massive to the body, really clean and hard elbows, and clean high kicks, strong front kicks. I'm just a big fan of all of the kicks he throws, to be quite honest. Very, very quick with a lot of power behind them. Good head movement and footwork. I mean, I just really like the way he uses his legs in the cage. He can get a bit wild with his punches, though. I will say some of those winging hooks can be a bit wild, and I've seen him get caught and rocked in the pocket. I want to say it was Gaidarov that actually caught him in the pocket in his last fight. Wasn't too keen on seeing that. He definitely has some weaknesses defensively, and seemed like he might have had a sus chin in that fight, so that's definitely something that's scared me a little bit. He is weaker to leg kicks as well. I think he has some great tosses, though, quick takedowns. He's pretty strong on top and has some ridiculous ground and pound and some very strong takedown defense, but I have seen him get trapped against the cage for a bit at times. I thought he did probably lose his last fight against Gaidarov, to be honest. It was a really bad performance. He was very stiff and low volume. He's been fighting at 175 too. Like, all these fights have been at 175, so I'm not sure what the extra 5-pound cut will do to him, especially if I am a bit sus of his chin. It does scare me a little bit. And against a guy like Chris Alvidrez, I think it'll be very interesting because Alvidrez is someone who fights in both stances, uses his lead left very well in his orthodox stance. Really nice check left hook. Has some good looping hooks with both hands from both stances and jumps in with them. Has some good leg kicks. He uses them to get reads and then fakes the kick and loops hooks over them. He'll hide his punches very well with those kicks. Big power in his right hand. A nasty lead high kick. He's very dangerous when he has you against the cage as well. He'll start teeing off with big hooks and some very very quick combinations that you really don't know how to react to. It's what he did to Takashi Sato for like 2.5 minutes until the ref was forced to step in. I will say he does get a bit sloppy in the pocket though, leaves himself open to some counters. He does evade strikes with his footwork at range very well and has a nice whizzer, but was taken down by Rents early in this fight and had his back taken. He did work up quick, but that was something to keep an eye on. He has some well-timed takedowns, but just no control really. Alvidrez has some pretty good reversals too, but he gave a postured mount to stand up in seconds against Sato, which was pretty weird. And I don't think his ground and pound is too strong or too crazy. He has some just questionable IQ in that Sato fight in general, so that was something I was a little bit worried about. He went for the sub when Sato was kind of curled up, giving him the finish, and I only saw highlights of his loss, but he did really seem to struggle with the grappling and counters as the fight went on and got a bit too reckless. Now, Mazzetti isn't anyone to hang your head over losing to. Gabriel Mazzetti is actually very good himself. But with that said, Alvidrez is very good too. And I think that he's going to give Kubanza some real problems in this fight, to be completely honest. I could really see him catching him with something coming in, like one of those looping hooks. Kubanza's last fight was just a really bad look, but against a good opponent. So I don't know if it could be similar to that maybe. Alvidrez can get in the pocket and let his hands go, especially while pressuring. So if he does that here, he could give Kubanza some real trouble, potentially knock him out with one of those short punches in the pocket or something like that. But if I really had to say, I think Kubanza just has a little bit more on, a couple more tools. I don't know, like it's weird because if I was going purely off last performance, I'd be picking Alvidrez all day. That last performance for Kubanza was such a bad performance in my eyes. I really was not a fan of it. So it's just made me feel really iffy about picking him. But otherwise, I want to say that he should just have the tools to be able to cruise past Alvidrez by decision at the very least. But I do think he might have to use his grappling here, especially if he ends up getting rocked and getting hit too much in the pocket, because Alvidrez is going to come out throwing, and I think he's going to come out looking to prove something in this fight. So I think Kubanza has to be careful, but I think he can be. I think he is smarter, has the better fight IQ, and with the grappling edge as well, I think he'll be able to fall back on that if he needs to. So I think Kubanza by round 3 TKO is my prediction. I think Alvidrez will come out hot and maybe wilt a little bit later in the fight, and then that's when Kubanza will be able to put it on him and maybe get that TKO. But I could see this fight honestly going a lot of ways, so nothing would really shock me here. This is, like I said, one of the fights I'm more looking forward to on this next card. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we have Jourdain versus Magno Dias. Pretty interesting fight between two guys who have connections to the UFC. Magno Dias is a fighting nerd, and Jourdain is the brother of Charles Jourdain, who is in the UFC currently. So we're going to be starting off with Jourdain first here from Canada. He's 8-3 on a 3-fight win streak. Been doing pretty well as of late. I think the thing I like about Louis the most is the improvement I've seen fight to fight to fight. He looks improved for the most part. He switches stances very fluently, quick combinations in the pocket. He just doesn't use them enough at range though. He's a very clean right hook, a lot of feints, sets up his kicks with them, quick kicks, stays on the outside firing them to all levels, and he kicks the lead leg early and often, looking to clearly immobilize his opponent. It's like done with very clear intent there. He breaks people down and then likes to pull away as the fight goes on, and he'll walk his opponent down as his strikes start to wear them down. You know, he'll just start to use the pressure more, use the front foot more as the fight goes, and he probably does get better as the fight goes on just because of his opponent's wilting to his game plans. He has a pretty good chin too. He did get cracked pretty bad in the fight against Hamadov, and he was able to take that punch pretty well, but he does sometimes he'll run straight back to the cage when pressured, and I didn't like to see that. And he can be taken down against the cage. I think he might have some mid takedown defense overall, but he has some decent grappling and scrambles, and he can reverse out of bad spots and has some pretty great get-ups. So with Jourdain, the takedown defense might not be fully there. It is improving, but it's not fully there. His grappling, though, is pretty solid, so you need to be very heavy on top to fight him. He himself doesn't stay too heavy on top, but he has some decent control, some nasty ground and pound elbows, a mean Kimura, a decent guillotine, and his submission defense has been looking better as well. Back-to-back wins with elbows now. He's finished his last 3 fights after going to back-to-back decisions. He's been getting better at finishing fights. Hamadov did miss weight in this fight too. That's the only loss he's had since 2017, and he's very inactive. That's the other big thing with Jourdain. Tons of canceled fights and injuries. Like, let me just pull out, like, unhide the canceled fights. All these canceled fights, he's been injured, canceled fights, had long layoffs. You see May 2023 to May 2025 there. Like, he's just had a very up and down career in terms of a lot of things, to be honest. Even had the boxing loss there, you know, so like up and down career, but I think he's drastically improved, and I honestly think he's looked the best he's looked in his last fight. Now moving on to Magno Dias, who's been with the Fighting Nerds. He's 28 years old, 6-1, 3-fight win streak, but Diaz will kind of just shuffle forward. He's finished every one of his fights, as you can tell, but I wouldn't necessarily call him like a massive finisher. He mainly just throws a lot of counters on the feet, has straight right, overhand right, mixes those in with the check left hook. Diaz does have some pretty hard outside leg kicks, but can be sniped coming in and just really shells up when he's being pressured with volume. He'll punch his way into the clinch and grab takedowns from there on the cage. He has some pretty good tosses, but he's pretty small and can get lit up with kicks, honestly. I forgot to say that before, but he's 5'6" at 145 pounds, right? Or 135, sorry. So that's the thing. 135, 5'6" isn't the worst thing, but you can see it in some of his fights. Like, he is pretty tiny. And I honestly just think he's a bit inactive on top. He'll control well, but will just slowly advance position. He'll like to get mount or take the back, and he has a nice RNC, and his cardio seems fine, but just some of the looks he's had in some of these fights, like Shimite, in that fight, it got reversed twice early, very easily, and was put on his back. Carvalho was the second best record opponent on his resume, and he was 7 years out of retirement for this fight. He hadn't fought in 7 years. He also threw after the bell twice in this fight. Not Carvalho, Diaz. Diaz was throwing after the bell not once, and then he apologized all this, and then did it again very intentionally. So I really don't like him, to be honest, because that's just some stuff I don't like to see. Albuquerque, this is a cool one too. He had one fight in 7 years before the Diaz fight, and it was 3 years before they fought. 3 years before they fought. Let's just go to the record, honestly. Let's just go to their topology. Just to show you guys. 2018, 2022, 2025. That's called record padding. 3-0 guy, Carvalho. Did train at Shoot Box. Like, come on. 2017 to 2024. Are we serious? Like, this is awful. Like, the two guys with decent records you fought are both guys that were years out of retirement. And now you lost to a 1-1 guy. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't with Magno Diaz. I'm not a fan personally, really, at all. I could see him winning this fight simply because Jourdain has the weakness of his grappling. At least in the past, that was his big weakness. And I could see a world where do what past opponents have done to Jourdain, but I don't think he has strong enough top control, strong enough cardio to do it. And I just think Jourdain has improved, to be honest. I don't think Diaz is going to be able to keep him down, and he's been reversed by worse opponents. Jourdain has reversed better opponents, in my opinion. Diaz will be more physical and probably the better grappler, but Jourdain is so much cleaner, the better striker, and just better overall, for sure, in my opinion. If he loses this fight, it'll be because of his grappling deficiencies, so that's definitely my only thing here. But I'm not a big fan of Magno Diaz. I do not think he is that good, and I just think Jourdain clearly has improved since these losses and will show up looking probably better than he ever has and take out Magno Diaz in round 2. TKO in round 2 for Louis Jourdain will be my prediction for this fight. Moving on to the main event of week 8, we have a don't blink matchup, or a blink and you miss it matchup, honestly, between Vitor Costa and Damian Pinas. So I'm going to head into Pinas first. These are both guys who were supposed to be on the Contender Series earlier this season. Week 2 for Costa, week 1 for Pinas, who was actually supposed to fight Murtaza Talha, and luckily he pulled out because it got Baisangor Susurkayev in the UFC, and now he still gets his chance. So I'm pretty happy he pulled out, to be honest, and I like this matchup better for him than the Talha one, honestly. Just a little spoiler. But for Pinas, 23 years old, he has 7 finishes and 7 wins, actually representing Aruba. and he was supposed to be on DWCS earlier this season. He has devastating power. His 1-2 ends nights. He's very patient, but he picks his shots well and has a good amount of aggression as well, where you see him have all these quick finishes. He loves to fire off hooks in boxing range and has no problem sitting on the back foot and countering. He fires off his rear high kick a lot and has come up out in southpaw and will still throw that rear high kick. Pinas likes to throw the outside leg kick too and has some pretty good scrambles and reversals off takedown attempts, but his takedown defense is horrible. It looked good in his last fight, but it was just awful against Matos. It was awful against Gomes. It was awful against Villalobos, who was an 0-3 fighter. Matos exposed a lot of his holes in this fight, but still ended up getting sparked. Pinas really just doesn't offer much off his back at all. Just doesn't offer much in the get-up department, the grappling department, and his top control himself isn't great. He'll jump the guillotine and lose position way too often, and he's not able to defend submissions very well, but he is able to thug them out very well. He's very intimidating and calm when he smells blood, though. He'll duck his head down and has been caught because of it, and he has great elbows in the clinch to defend takedowns, but he doesn't know how to separate through his actual grappling. In this fight, he threw an illegal up kick, looking pretty bad up until that point, to be honest. Gomes had him down, was kind of grinding him out on top, and yeah, he just kind of threw the up kick and got DQ'd. It feels like he's losing most of these fights, though, to be honest, and finds the finish out of nowhere. This isn't a new theme for him. It's pretty weird. Like, I feel like the same thing in the Matos fight, Gomes fight, Villalobos fight even, he was losing. Like, he's been losing too many of these fights and then just finds a crazy KO out of nowhere. But he's just so quick, so powerful, so athletic, and that's a real thing I think he has here, is the athleticism and the quickness. So moving on to a guy like Vitor Costa, it's kind of the opposite for him, if you want me to be completely honest. 8-1, 25 years old, 6'2". Costa is a very unorthodox. I think he actually has had some work with the Fighting Nerds as well. I could be wrong there, but I think they have been promoting him ahead of his DWCS shot. Either way, Costa is very unorthodox. He just kind of slowly plods forward and then lets off combinations of short punches. He has a solid left hook and a strong right hand with a really nice right hook from southpaw. He kind of just runs forward throwing, though. He's pretty slow. Will throw fast sometimes, but it won't have any power behind the punches. He has some good leg kicks. He'll sometimes look for the body lock in the clinch, but he just doesn't have good control or good takedowns, honestly. Decent takedown defense, but he has a really nice guillotine off takedown attempts. He gets caught clean way too often, though. Last fight, he was getting hit way too much. He got dropped by Rafael Silva. He got kind of out-grappled by Damasceno, especially in round 2. He kind of gassed a little bit, and when he slowed down, Damasceno was kind of out-grappling him. I'm just not a fan of Costa's process overall. He's kind of just a striker that plods forward and will throw these short punches while blitzing forward, getting hit, and will either break you or get broken himself. His loss was to Cesar Almeida, where he did get chinned in that fight when he fought a faster, more explosive finisher and striker. And both of his decisions went to split. I don't think his cardio is very good. You know, he did beat Miguel Firmino. Firmino is a decent win to have, but I just don't trust his cardio. I don't trust his process. I feel like a lot of his opponents will just get hit and roll over. It's very weird finishes, and I think a guy like Damian Pinas isn't going to get finished like that, at least. Maybe he gets caught in a guillotine, but I don't think he's getting finished like that. I think he's way too quick, way too athletic, and I honestly just think he probably is the better fighter overall here. All right, maybe I'm going a little too far with that because his grappling really genuinely is terrible, but with that said, he is just so explosive on the feet. He really just finds these massive KOs out of nowhere, massive. And I just can't see how Vitor Costa doesn't end up running into one of these massive shots that gets him KO'd. Maybe he'll end up wilting Pinas a bit and actually be the one to gas him out. If anything, though, I see Costa maybe getting the guillotine, but I like Pinas here to really land a big punch and potentially put Vitor Costa out. If not, then I think it'll be because Costa grappled, and I think it'll be because Costa fought smart, saw the weaknesses in Pinas, and was able to say, you know what, I'm not going to blitz him with these terrible combinations. I'm actually just going to grapple and drown this kid, which would be the smart thing. The thing is, though, Costa's normal style, I don't think will give Pinas many problems. Just be way too fast and explosive, and probably won't be phased by a lot of the things that have finished Costa's previous opponents. So with that said, I am going to go Damian Pinas, round 1 KO for the main event of DWCS week 8. I can't believe we're already on week 8, guys. Season's almost over. We almost had 6 fights on this card too. Luis Felipe Diaz, Jonathan Figueroa got pulled off, but either way, 5 fights. Pretty good night of fights. Not the best card of the year, definitely not the worst either though. Somewhere in the middle for sure, and I'm very much looking forward to it because we have some interesting names here that I definitely want to see how they perform. So with that said, everyone, I hope you enjoyed. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and please enjoy and check out my other Contender Series breakdowns and the ones that are going to be upcoming on this season.